Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Warzone In Depth. In today's episode, I want to show you some of the best landing spots that aren't too hot. I mean, anybody can drop military base or hospital or prison and just risk absolutely everything for that high value loot, but you're only going to come out alive or intact as a squad about 1 out of 3, 4, 5 landings, so I don't think that's really a great every game strategy. Instead, I want to show you where to land that won't be impossibly hot, that have a good 2-story maximum kind of elevation so you don't have to deal with roof snipers, that have a good amount of loot in proportion to their size, and all of these spots are going to be nearby a hotspot so that you can rotate in and clean up. Without any further ado, let's take a look at spot number 1, which is south of Quarry in quadrant G3. I call it Big Blue Building south of Quarry when I make the call out for my squad live on Mixer, which you can find linked down there below in the description. It's kind of like a miniature version of Quarry itself. It's got one big blue building that people like to land on and fight over, me too, a few regular civilian houses down below, a gas station, and a radio tower that holds a surprising amount of loot. Most people tend not to go up the ladder to get the loot higher up the radio tower, but there's a lot of gold chests up there. It's always enough to kit out one squad. Never have I had my squad land here and we be uncontested and come out not well kitted. There's usually 1 to 2 easy contracts nearby, like scavenger or recon, that you can pick up so that you can do a quick scav contract in that area, get the money, and hit a buy station that's also often there. It's not every time, but it's pretty common, and there's buy stations nearby even if there isn't exactly there. So you can do a couple easy contracts, get your loot, and when you're done, you can very, very easily rotate into the quarry to play cleanup crew there. You can move to the farmland, or if you want to, you can move south to the other bunker, which is a fun place to look over the next city, but it's a little exposed, or to the TV station. This is my overall favorite spot to land. I think it's one of the best places to be in the entire game. It's fun. It gives me a lot of opportunity, and this is where I would recommend the majority of you land, but I do have a lot more recommendations today. There is a town north of the airport in grid E3. It's almost like 2 long skinny towns along the road by the ice river. This one's kind of a sweaty boy start. The one I marked and not too many people go to, this one is a little bit more competitive, and my competitive friends like landing here because it's easy to rotate either to the military base or to the airport to go for these high kill lobbies. The area has several large 2-story houses, you've got some offset cliffs, and a really well-defined, relatively 2D combat area. There's more than enough loot to get your squad fully kitted. You can buy a loadout drop at one of 2 possible buy stations, and then you can rotate into the airport, or you can push north to the big apartment complex that overlooks the military base, and from there jump off and float to the military base itself. This is the place to land if you want to get a high kill game. If you want to get your best guys together and be like, okay, we're going to drop a 40 bomb between all of us, it's here, because there's usually at least one other squad here, which we're going to get to in a little bit, and then once you've won that, you can go to the most high traffic places areas on the map fully kitted. And that other squad I mentioned is probably going to be another squad of sweaty boy competitive gamers, so keep in mind that your first few seconds may be rougher than what you want. Once you get through that first round of sweat though, in this location, everything else is downhill. I've got 3 more recommendations for you, but they're going to be coming after today's sponsored segment. Today's video is sponsored by Game Oils. They're a brand new company that sells essential oils designed to help boost your kill-death ratio in any video game.
Essential oils, aromas for natural wellness and healing. But current products aren't made for gamers. Now there's a better way to holistically improve your game with sense-like strategy, kill-death ratio, and dominance. All of them mostly safe and distilled using nature science. This is what victory smells like.
Hold up on the dislike button. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't sell you guys essential oils or snake oil or anything like that. Today's video is actually sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. They asked me to do this as a bit of a late April Fool's joke, which I found to be amazing. Let's instead talk about the actual sponsor. Raid is a free-to-play dark fantasy RPG, so no kawaii anime stuff here. It's available on mobile and crossplay on PC. I like the overall strategy of the game, and I like to try to find ways to min-max my characters to punch above their level. For example, I'm almost able to beat the highest tier spider boss right now and get the really good banner loot, but unfortunately my AoE attackers are just a little bit weak, so I'm going to get some glyphs and boost them on up. We'll be there soon. There are daily login rewards for new players that have been extended from 90 to 180 days. I'm close to day 120 myself. Each day you can claim your free rewards from energy refills, silver and gems, shards, and even free champions such as Syl of the Drake. the Barbarian legendary champion that I myself do not have yet. The link in the description will give you 100,000 free silver and a free epic champion Lightsworn, who again looks better than my Void champions, and you get that just for signing up. You'll find your rewards in the little treasure chest in the top right hand corner of your game. So what are you waiting for? Download Raid Shadow Legends today using the link down there in the description, get your free loot, and you can join my clan with me and Prestigious Key. I hope you enjoyed the little April Fools there with Raid Shadow Legends. It's a fun game, I'm still playing it, but let's get back to the in-depth. The third recommendation is the small town just south of Promenade West in grid D7. I chose this over the one that's kind of in construction because that area has really bad cover and you can't hear when people break through windows because there's no windows. It's got good loot though. I could almost add a bonus recommendation for that spot. But I think that the little cluster of about 8 two-story buildings in grid D7 is one of the best places to go. It's got a possible buy station, usually one contract. The two-story buildings tend to have a lot of chests that you can open up. It's a really good place for a squad to loot up and settle in to kind of like just get their essentials before they go somewhere else. I also generally like the density of buildings in this area and the structure and the layout of the two stories. It allows me to do a little bit of climbing, a little bit of parkour. It allows me to think a little bit creatively, and I'm usually able to take advantage of that and kill people here. Once you're done looting, killing, buying at the buy station, doing whatever it is that you need to do, you just need to rotate into Promenade or into the train station after landing here. Most people push north and they go pick on bigger targets and check out higher value loot areas, but you'll be doing so relatively well kitted. You can rotate to the area that I'm going to recommend next or to the abandoned buildings if you're desperate, so you do have fallback plans as well. The only downside to this area is that it is very dense with buildings, so if you're going to fight somebody, it's going to be very close quarters combat. You're going to be juking and jiving and dodging. You're going to be climbing fences and jumping out windows. So you need to have something like an MP7 or shotgun or something that's going to work really well in close quarters. Number 4 today, I like to land at the rich town near Promenade. It's just southwest of my last recommendation. It's a nice circle of about 6 to 7 houses that are all two-story except for one. They're in a layout around what would be a flagpole, but there's a helicopter crash in the middle. And this kind of reminds me of Warzone's version of Raid from Black Ops 2. The layout is very straightforward. It's very easy to familiarize yourself with. And I like the crash chopper and the structure in the middle because if I have to push directly across from one house to the next, then they're not adjacent to each other. I don't have to move that far before I have some sort of reasonable cover to work with. It's not great cover. You're still in the middle. A lot of people looking at you, but it can work. And once you're done looting and cleaning up this area, you can rotate to my last recommendation and loot that. You can go to the abandoned town and loot that, or you can just push into Promenade or even to Boneyard or train station or anywhere. I do want to give you a warning about this one. This is an area that I guess I'm breaking my own rule with a little bit. This area is actually kind of hot. This area is actually kind of busy. There tends to be at least one other squad landing here, if not 2. And depending on the angle of the plane and drop and all that, there might be like a whole lot of squads here. So be careful. You want to land together. My recommendation is that everybody lands in the big house together. And then you use the buddy system to rotate left and right and sweep across. And if your buddy gets pinched, if you're in trouble, you cut across the middle and use the helicopter cover to save them. My last recommendation today, that's going to be houses. I'm going to call them in grid B5 just outside of the Boneyard. There's a little cluster of 4 houses just to the west of the Boneyard. And this area has the least loot out of all the places that I've recommended today. And it tends to be just barely enough for a full squad. However, there's a building cluster to the north of it with some more industrial type buildings that will also have loot. 2 stories, you can get on there and snipe to if you want to. There's a nearby radio tower, a nearby bunker, and one of those weird cylindrical water silo things that you see in Quarry you can climb up. So if you take a little bit of time, you can get a lot of loot. And there's usually a buy station at either one of these locations. So what you can do is save up your money and then do something like buy a UAV so that you can push into the Boneyard before anybody else has perks. It's kind of nice that the Boneyard itself is relatively 2D. You don't often have to worry about people really high up on the buildings in that area. So what you want to do is you want to get your guns, you're going to get your loot. They're not going to be like amazing. You're going to be more medium kitted, but then you save up for the UAV, pop the UAV and push into the middle of Boneyard, and you are the cleanup crew. Every single time I do this, I see multiple squads fighting. I see people weak. I see people down. I see opportunities to exploit, just like I talked about in the gunfight video. And it's optimal. It's fun. You'll have a really fun match pushing into Boneyard from here. Guys, that is all for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, you could consider subscribing to this channel or checking out my Mixer or my Twitter or the Discord community we have that's growing. There's a lot of other things that I do here on YouTube that not that many of you take advantage of, and I think you should. It's all free. Always subscribe, and I will be back with more Warzone In Depth, probably with an actual intro and branding relatively soon. Drifter out.